People will say I am mad to have tried again. People will call me crazy that I believe I can give life to inanimate tissue. But I'll show them, by goodness I'll show them. Their petty superstitions and lack of understanding in science won't hold me back from creating life. Life! Live, my beautiful creature, live!
What the bloody hell is going on?
Oh my goodness, you live, you really live!
Yeah, damn right I live, mate. Pretty bleeding obvious, considering here I am flapping me gums and moving me chalk farms about.
And you appear to be a cockney.
Listen, mucker, if you're going to go around stitching together ne'er-do-wells and scallywags, what do you expect? Little Lord Fauntleroy-Poly and his pet poodle Pip?
Well, I suppose you've got a point.
Damn right I've got a point, me old China. While we working class types may appear scruffy and only good for ditch digging and dodgy deals down the old Bull and Duck, truth is, we have a sort of street wisdom, a certain charm for the soil, a bit of nass in the old noggin, if you get my drift, you old quack. So, how'd you get in this game, then?
What game is that?
What game is that, he asks, like his Tom Tit don't pen and ink. The game, Charlie, of taking muggins like me, sawing off the bits you want and stitching them back together to make whatever the clucking bell I'm meant to be.
Well, it starts when you're young, don't you know?
Oh, I?
Yeah, you know, ripping the brains out of field mice, nailing a vole to a stoat, interfering with a grouse. You know it's not right, but you know that curiosity is often its own reward.
So what you're saying, then, is you're completely chicken jar frozy, then?
What? To be honest, I haven't got a clue what you're blathering about.
It's rhyming slang, isn't it?
Well, whatever it is, I wonder if I can get it to stop if I kill a duke or something and stitch his neck to your cheek.
Listen, mate, you can't go through life solving all your problems with hideously experimental and wildly dangerous surgical impulses. You have to find the peace from within.
I can do what I like. You're my creation.
Geezer, I don't belong to anyone. Don't start getting any ideas.
If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be alive.
No, I'd be brown bread in my grave and happy for it. Instead, I've got to wander around this castle like some loony until I inevitably get bored and confused, wander into town, scaring a bunch of livestock and a small child, get hunted by some bastards with pitchforks, and then everything you've worked so hard to create goes all up in smoke. These things never do end well.
Well, again, you have a point.
Tell you what, let's have a pot of old Rosie and then let's get shot of this dank old place and head on down to Margate. What do you say?
Sounds like a rum and jolly wheeze. Let's do it!
Well, I'll be working hard to reach my target. 200 people for a day trip down to Margate. I'm gonna blow the lot tomorrow on all my family. We catch the coach at 8, so don't be late. We're off to see the sea. Hurry up, will your granddad? Come on, we go down to Margate. Don't forget your buckets and spades and cottons and all. Down to Margate. We'll have a field of jelly down to the cockle soul. Down to Margate. We go on the pier and we'll have a beer aside of the sea. Down to Margate, you can keep the Costa Brava. I'm telling you, mate, I'd rather have a day down Margate with all my family.
Unlike previous attempts, Dr. Frankenstein and his monster this time around became the best of friends and far from causing widespread panic and madness, instead brought joy with their seaside vaudeville act filled with knees-up piano tunes, off-colour jokes about mother-in-laws and jam wrestling.
Along the promenade we spend some money. Then we find a spot on the beach that's it for sunny. The kids will all enjoy themselves digging up the sand, collecting stones and winkle shells to take back home to them. Behave yourself, granddad.
The only thing in their lives that was far from perfect was the after-movie diner.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross.
That's right, I am Jon Cross, son of Luther Pendragon from the court of Obercrony the Unwieldy and uncle of Barry the Permanently Moist. Welcome lunar modules, bluer globules, Rube Goldberg devices, thinly carved ham slices, the plural of mouses isn't mices, Annika Rice in a baguette and Luciano Pavarotti's pet iguana, Felicity. Welcome one and welcome all. This episode is the second of 4 podcast episodes dedicated to the films of Hammer Studios, the British film company of the 1950s, 60s and 70s, best known for their horror series, and it's rather smashing. We will also have new articles on AfterMovieDiner.com from the bloke down the pub, our resident Hammer horror reviewer, and maybe a couple of other as yet undetermined things. Watch, as the Welsh so rightly say occasionally while playing a game they call Big Slabs of Meat in My Back Passage, this space. Before we get to discussing this week's film, a quick reminder that you can support the After Movie Diner in many ways, but one of them is going over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/After Movie Diner, and becoming a patron of the show. Just like these recent patrons: Michael Fitzgerald, Micah Johnson, Charles H. Nelson, Chris Leatherman, or previous patron supporters such as Chris Salt, Cole Reel, David Brighton, Mark Burns, and Peter Osmond. A huge thank you to all of you. And if you don't want to become a patron, you can make a one-time donation by clicking the Buy Us a Coffee button on AfterMovieDiner.com. Or you can click the Amazon.com link on our website before you do your shopping and bookmark that as your Amazon link on your browser, so that every time you make a purchase, and at no extra cost to yourself, Amazon slips us a few highly buffed pennies. Also, if you like music, you can go to miscplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, that's MISC plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, and get yourself an album or 5. Every single cent goes to keeping the website and this podcast afloat on an uncertain sea, on a turbulent internet, part of a fractious world that may or may not all be down to the proliferation of Piers Morgan's many flatulent chins. And if you have no money, simply rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever podcasts are found. Now, without further release of saliva or goggly eye rolling, to a diner somewhere in the heart of New York City.
Someone had dropped a particularly nasty gut pie in the bathroom. And although they, to be fair, they had flushed it,
right.
You can't flush smell.
If only it were the case.
If only it was the case that you could flush smell.
Is your beard long enough that you can poke it into your nose to block out any odours?
I did do that. I separated it halfway down the middle and then stuck it back up the nostrils.
That's very practical.
I'm telling you.
Living in New York, that is, because there's sometimes you walk, like you're walking down the street in New York, and all of a sudden you walk through what is definitely poo. Like there's no question.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like actual like poo on the sidewalk or anything.
No.
You look around, like the sidewalk's clear.
Yeah.
There's nothing around you.
Yeah.
But there's a huge stench. In the open air. Of poo.
Of poo. Hobo poo.
Could be hobo poo.
Right.
In New York, it could be anything.
It could be. It literally could be
somebody following behind you pooing.
It could be anybody's bathroom effluent.
Yeah. I quite like gut pie. I've never
Gut
had that
pie,
before.
pretty good. Someone dropped the gut pie. I just came up with it.
Did you really just come up with that?
Yeah, I was in the bathroom. I was like, what's the funny name I could say?
Dropped a gut pie.
Dropped a gut pie.
Well, I'm with you. That is a funny,
a
funny thing.
Yeah.
That you did.
I mean, it's. Yeah, I've not heard it before.
Right, I like it.
But
I mean,
please.
it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Because it's also like it brings to mind a splosh sound.
Well, that's what I mean.
Like dropping a gut pie.
Dropping one. Yeah.
You can hear the splosh.
The plops.
Yeah.
But shouldn't a descriptive turn of phrase
absolutely
conjure up both the visual, but also the onomatopoeic result of said visual?
Definitely. Now, is this part of an experiment of yours to see how fast people can turn off?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how long?
That
was the shortest amount of time I can get people to listen to the dive. They download it. If you can get them to listen to it for less time than it takes to download it, like that's art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's showing the man.
So you're saying
that's sticking it to the. You know what I mean?
Me saying that a stranger before me dropped a gut pie has already made
blink onto the next podcast.
People have gone, ugh.
And Mark Commode's going, what's a latte? What are you talking about?
Is that what
Yeah,
Mark
that's what he
says?
does. He pretends not to know what things are in order to make him seem interesting.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of those people who like his own ignorance is somehow makes him smarter.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
It is. But I don't know what GoBots are. you know what it is. Right? Is that what it is?
That feels like that would have been dredged. Do you know what I mean? For a really deep memory.
Well, no,
like your dad was like, "Well, you're not going to get a GoBot for Christmas. What was a GoBot?" You're like, "Oh, Dad,
no,
don't be hip about GoBots."
No, what went through my mind was, like, I went worst film franchise. I went Transformers, and I was like, he probably knows at this point,
right?
Because there's like 18 Transformer films, and one of them, which is the only one I'm even remotely interested in.
Are you?
Sorry, I'm going to need a couple more.
You're not going to get the hammer.
No, I'm going to.
All right, thanks.
One of them, which I am quite interested in, has like Anthony Hopkins as a guy who's like, there used to be a sword, and like there's like the Transformers used to be like medieval knights or some shit. I kind of want to see that one.
I kind of want to see that
right,
one.
that's the only one I care about. And I haven't seen any of the others leading up to it, but I assume. But anyway, my brain went Transformers, and I was like, oh, him and Mayer would be incredible. That's Simon Mayer, not Jay Mayer. But him and Mayer would be incredibly sniffy, I would imagine, about the Transformer franchise.
Rightly
so. But then I went, okay, what is it that everyone knows, but is more obscure than Transformers? That Commode would definitely be like, well, I don't know what they are.
What's a GoBot? A GoBot latte? Thing is, right, weirdly, now, all I want to do when I get home is I want to watch the GoBots movie, because I'm pretty sure...
Is there a GoBots movie?
There is a GoBots movie, because I'm pretty sure that me and John had it on VHS since we were kids, and I think it's one of those movies that I've seen so many times.
No, I think you definitely had the Transformers movie.
No, we had like one of the Dino ones, maybe, like on VHS. No, we had the GoBots movie.
You did?
Yes, and I've seen it like a whole lot of times.
I do not remember that at all.
Such that it'll be one of those that you watch and you forgot that you saw it so many times when you were a kid that you know it backwards, even though you haven't seen it in years and years. It's properly, briefly, like a window into your own past, long dead soul.
Right. I thought you had the Orson Welles Voices of Planet Transformers.
No, I did see that in the cinema.
Movie.
I did see that in the cinema, but I don't think we owned it.
I know you did have the Batman movie with the shark repellent. Bat shark repellent.
Yeah, we did have that. Yeah.
What do I want, dude?
Well, usually you look over the menu and you talk about all the things, and then you order ham, egg, and chips.
Yeah, but that's not what I want tonight.
Are you going to keep it fresh?
I'm gonna Is that another phrase? Is that
probably? Yeah.
I'm going to keep it 100, mate.
That's what they say. That's what they say on TV. So you're going to keep it fresh.
Simon Mayer would be like, oh, so you're keeping it 100, and then Commode would be like, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
I'm way too intelligent. I'm a doctor, as is my wife. We did degrees and shit, and now I spend my life being a knob on the radio.
Getting paid for it as well. Paid to be a knobber.
I kind of weirdly want...
The picture's swaying you. Are you, for the first time in your life, when you're looking at a diner menu, you're generally being swayed by the pictures?
Yeah, because I'm thinking...
You could order like a pile of carrots? Do you think they can...
I don't want a pile of carrots.
A pile of raw carrots, please.
Put your
carrots,
Put your finger away. Don't finger my menu.
Okay.
I will be very annoyed if there is continual fingering of my menu.
All right.
I kind of want the zucchini sticks.
Okay.
Oh my god, no. I want pizza French fries.
It does sound
French
good.
Fries with
it sounds good, but it can equally be a disaster, but it does sound pretty good.
What would I have with pizza French fries? We'll just get a burger. Yeah, let's get a burger.
It's going to be like, that's a lot of food.
That's fine. Alright. I'm going to have a Swiss burger.
With Idaho steak fries with... Alright.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, it's fine. It's only about $4 more than the deluxe anyway. And I don't want all the pickles and the coleslaw they give you.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
Fuck it, you only live once.
That's what I hear.
And
so the rumours go.
And if this continues, I'm not going to live very long.
No. But at least you'll die happy.
I will die.
With a beard in your nose.
Oh, do they do
and a pie in your gut. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe they do, yeah.
And then we have to get on.
I've been singing that all week, and I'm not even completely sure what it is.
Okay. So I don't know where we were, what we were talking about.
We were here, and we were talking bollocks.
We were talking about Commode. And, and Mayo.
Let's stop talking about them, because
Kermode.
Yeah. It used to be alright.
I used to listen to them, and then they read out one of my letters.
Oh, that's right, and they totally ignored it.
No, they read out one of my letters, and Kermode was... There's normal level Kermode sniffiness, right? Then you add, like, a veneer of... a soupçon, one might say, of, like, Piers Morgan arrogance and ignorance, splashed about with a dash of Jeremy Clarkson knob face, and then a little bit more Kermode sniffiness, and that's how he responded to my letter.
Yeah.
A letter which, to be fair, was attacking him rather harshly. Because he went off on a tirade about... he had given a very positive review, or a relatively positive review, to that abomination with Rogan and Franco in it about them going to North Korea, which was just a series of gay jokes. And it was a series of gay jokes where you're like, oh, you can't justify this as lad humor. This is genuinely like homophobic humor. You know, and then it was like, oh, we're going to have Kim Jong-un or whatever, like, loving Mariah Carey or whoever it was, and like dancing around effeminately, and like it was just one long string of awful gay jokes. And I just wrote a letter to point out to Kermode that he always likes to be so, you know, on his high horse about like feminism and about homophobia and about racism in movies, which he does, because like with the Sex and the City rants that he did, the Sex and the City movies was like a massive, this is like disgustingly anti-feminist, blah blah blah, like he was horribly attacking of that, but then it was like perfectly fine with...
No, there was a movie that you liked.
That was the letter that I wrote.
No, I know that, but like you were specifically comparing his attacks, or rather his forgiveness of the homophobia in Thingamajig with
the interview,
with a movie that was good but that he didn't like because of it might have been also homophobia or something. Well, I can't remember that, but you made a good point, which was, well, how can you call out this thing,
right,
but not the other? And he was like, it's totally different, but didn't elaborate on that at all.
So I stopped listening to them, which I'm sure that one person made a massive dent in their weirdly billions of people who listen. Yeah. Meanwhile, you and I, mate, we struggle on with nary of...
Perhaps if we pretended not to know what lattes are and we're inconsistent with our righteous rage.
Oh, look how dialed in I am with the issues.
Maybe we should be more dialed in with the issues.
I think we
should be more dialed in with the issues.
We should. Yes, we are, sir. Thank you. Go right ahead, then.
Can I have a bowl of beef chili with melted cheese? Thank you very much. That'll do me. Oh, and a cup of English breakfast tea with milk. Thank you.
I would like the bacon Swiss burger, please.
Threw bacon on there, didn't you?
And can I get a side of the gravy and cheese steak fries, the Idaho steak fries?
So you're a French fries with gravy and cheese?
Yes. But the steak fries.
Yeah. American cheese?
What options do you have?
American, Swiss, cheddar, mozzarella, Munster, pepper jack.
What is the good one? I think mozzarella's good with the gravy.
Probably.
Nothing to drink?
No, I'm good with water, thank you.
The burger medium, right?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So anyway...
Right.
Right.
Let's talk
one last thing. No, one last bit of business.
One
One last bit of business. What's a latte? No.
Probably.
Oh, call back.
Probably spend more time trying to score chicks. What's that from me? Oh, Rushmore.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That looks lovely.
Yeah, you've got the square of orange again.
Thank you. Lovely. Oh yeah, square of orange.
Why did I get coleslaw and a pickle still when I asked
That's what their idea of not deluxe is.
a fucking rancid vinegar-covered cucumber and half a cup of whatever that is?
Yeah, I'd say that is almost the opposite of deluxe, right?
That, my
Would you
friend.
like our deluxe cabin or our cabin full of coleslaw? Those are your choices. Well,
Wow,
I
and that
have
is
no
a-
money.
That
Cabin
is
full of
a
coleslaw for
ridiculous
you.
amount of fries as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was stupid. I ordered stupidly, but that's fine. I don't need to.
You are
eat
you are gonna. How are you gonna sleep tonight? There will be more food
yeah.
in you
Yeah.
than there is you.
Then there is me. That's humanly possible. It's good bun though. Good bun.
Yeah, good bun.
Good bun consistency.
Yeah.
Nice heft.
Should you send a gut pie warning email to your co-workers
Probably.
tomorrow?
I don't want to warn my co-workers.
But
They're
in
all-
case, like, when you disappear for half an hour and all of a sudden the building smells like dead people.
Oh, they do good burgers here though.
Yeah. I'll get the burger next time. Well, the chili is very good.
You've got 2 squares of orange this
Oh,
time.
they have. They've
They've
have done
added
2
orange.
squares, yeah.
Last time you just got 1 square of orange, and it was kind of.
It was a bit sad.
Yeah. So anyway, Mr. Hammer fanatic / expert, who still doesn't know what lattes are, why don't you tell us all about the evil of Frankenstein?
Of Frankenstein. Well,
Which I can't help thinking should be called the evil of Zardoz the Grey or whatever. But anyway, carry on.
Oh yeah. So it's the third Frankenstein movie, starring Peter Cushing as Frankenstein, and the first 2, Curse of Frankenstein, which is a pretty straight-ahead telling of the tale with Christopher Lee as the monster, and then there's the Revenge of Frankenstein, which is really good, and that's follows directly on from the end of Curse, where the Baron escapes the gallows and goes and starts working in a pauper's hospital, basically, where he saws. It's brilliant. He just saws these poor sods' arms off to build his own monster. And it's really good. And it ends with the Baron. It's sort of like the Frankenstein equivalent of like Dinosaurs in Manhattan thing. Like it ends with Frankenstein in London, having perfected the ability to basically bring himself back from the dead.
Right.
Which is like, can you imagine the implication of the ending of Revenge is, imagine the evil shit he's going to get up to when he can bring himself back from the dead. He's just going to do anything he wants.
Right.
Obviously a brilliant ending. And then the third movie is completely different. And the reason it's going to be different is when they first wanted to make The Curse of Frankenstein, they obviously wanted Christopher Lee to look like, because Christopher Lee was nobody then, except he was just tall.
Curse is the first one.
The first one. They wanted him to look like, thank you very much. They wanted him to look like Boris Karloff. Right? Because they wanted to get American money, and in every comic we ever saw, read growing up, whatever, Frankenstein is the same. He's green, he's got a big forehead, and he's got bolts coming out of his neck, right? But Universal went, fuck off. No, you can't have it. You've got no money and you're rubbish, so get lost. So they didn't do it. And then, finally,
Is that for realsies?
Yeah, that's for realsies. And finally,
I
don't know.
That's Jim Wallace keeping it 100.
Thank you. I don't know whether it was just because a period of time had elapsed, or they raised the money or something. I don't know, but they got the rights basically to make a Frankenstein movie with classic Frankenstein makeup. So what they decided to do was basically reboot, as it were, the story, and have the Baron go back to the scene of the first film, and retell the first film in a way that it didn't happen.
But I would just say this: if the whole purpose is, well, now we can do the classic look, the classic makeup, that's why you retell it. I would suggest one thing. Hire a makeup artist Because listen, and I'm not about to rip this movie up because I actually really enjoyed it. But the least good thing about it, literally the least good thing about it, is the makeup.
Yeah.
It looks like Bernard Bresslaw from the Carry On films. You know, the big guy, like the enormous big guy. But it might be Bernard Bresslaw.
Please enjoy the next section of the podcast while I make a point and Jim Wallace apparently spends a fucking age opening some cock-mothering crackers for his arsing chili.
What is a latte? No. It looks like
Bernard Bresslaw,
has comically walked through like a plaster wall.
Yes.
In a Benny Hill sketch.
Yeah, it does.
And all the plaster has stuck to him, and they've looked at it and gone, that'll do.
That'll do.
Maybe some eyeshadow.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's really badly
I don't
done.
know. I mean, conceivably there could be a story behind that. I don't know whether, like they had the rights, but they weren't sure how far they could go, or I don't know. But it's not classic, and he's not green, and he doesn't have any scars. I don't seem to know I don't know whether they were nervous about.
Was Hammer okay? So here's a question, because you've watched considerably more than me.
Right. Conceivably, by the way, the reason might be that they wanted to pretend it was Christopher Lee.
Has Hammer ever had good makeup?
I actually quite like, and I may be alone here, but I quite liked Oliver Reed's werewolf makeup in Curse of the Werewolf.
As I asked the question, that's what I thought of.
But generally speaking, the Gorgon wasn't great. I haven't seen Reptile yet.
My point being is that the Universal movies are made about 20 years before these ones. Mm-hmm. And Karloff's makeup in the original Universal Frankensteins is amazing. It just really is. Yeah. Even today, it is a phenomenal makeup. And then you have the era of Lon Chaney and all the stuff he's doing and da-da-da-da-da. And in them's days, you're not talking about effects eating up, or makeup effects anyway, eating up all of your budget. So you can't really blame the crappiness of early Hammer's makeup, because the Mummy's not much cop, and even the first horror of Frankenstein, although the story's good, you're not going to look at Christopher Lee and go, oh my god, what amazing makeup.
No, that's true. I think that...
And so I wonder,
But
considering most of Karloff's makeup is just a guy who's just really good at, shading and... there's not a lot of it that's... Yeah, there's the forehead work and a bit else. But
a lot of it is...
You wonder why they were so pish.
Well, my guess is there was nobody in England with, monster makeup expertise. I just think it's that simple. There are people who can act.
You just find that a bit
people
hard
who
to
can
believe.
I'm just saying, there are people who, one of the reasons that Hammer is good is they have good locations.
Right.
Good actors, although not in this film. Good actors, good directors.
Good sets.
Good sets.
This film has good sets.
And, I'm pretty sure they reuse a lot of Curse of Frankenstein. Certainly the house. But my point is that they're using what they've got to make good movies. But there's nobody in England who's like, oh yes, the ton of monster films that we've been making in England over the last. Whereas even though it was in the 30s, they'd still been making a lot of monster movies, and you know what I mean. There was a history there to be tapped into. That would be my guess.
I guess.
But I agree with you. It's not the strong suit. It's certainly not. But if I was to be cynical, I would guess that they are trying to pretend that that's Christopher Lee over there. The only thing that makes any sense to me is they just totally obscured that guy's face.
Yeah, although except his chin, and his chin is the one thing that gives it away that it's not Lee.
Agreed.
Because he has a huge snooker player's bum chin.
I mean, or it could be that, they just don't have any makeup, and they couldn't get. It could be that. It could be that they couldn't get the forehead right. And so that's why it's over his eyes and it's all fucked up.
It literally looks like he's wearing a painted white cereal box sellotaped to his noggin.
So it might not be they're trying to disguise it. It might just be, as you rightly point out, allows your makeup done. But anyway, so the point...
And also, one last thing, sorry about this, but it'll depend on how these podcasts come out, but the last Hammer film we watched certainly was The Abominable Snowman. Mm-hmm. And while the makeup in that is not particularly good either, they have the sense to not like shoot it head on in bright light, right?
Yeah, but you can't really do that when you're making a Frankenstein movie. Like, it's the whole thing is the...
I don't know, there would be a way to do stuff in like silhouette stuff. In this you have him, you know, traipsing around, like I said, like a blinded Bernard Bresslaw.
I certainly agree with you that if you're going to make an entire movie based on the fact that you finally have the rights to like the makeup, then make sure you can pull the makeup off.
Right, or do a different movie.
I agree. I mean, for me, that's the big problem with this movie. But the other big problem with the movie, and we can get onto its strengths, but the big problem for me in the movie is, for some reason, they decide, and again, it's presumably part of the reboot or whatever, but in previous Hammers and subsequent Hammers, they've got zero problem with people wandering around, you know, apparently Romanian or German villages going, hello,
Right.
how are you? What a lovely day. Yes,
Right.
I'm Romanian, my name's Klaus, don't you know? Totally cool. But in this one, everybody's putting on a terrible accent, which is very unusual. And one of the main guys, the doctor, has clearly only been hired because he is like partly German or something, because he's not putting his accent on. He is, however, a dismally untalented actor.
See, I really like
He
it.
was terrible. He had
No.
He's like,
The worst actor in this was Budget Roger Moore in the first scene, who for
no,
some reason...
no, you are wrong.
Who for some
no,
reason-
because he had his own accent. The
Six
worst
times.
actor is the guy who was the drunken father of the girl, who was trying to act drunk, doing a German accent that he thinks means going "what" instead of "what,"
Well, his
and then
accent was
all
Irish.
sounding Irish. Yeah, he was all over the shop, and the scenes with those two, with him and the doctor,
See, I quite
were
like that.
easily the worst scenes
But we'll get
possibly
on-
committed to celluloid.
No, not at all. Not even in the slightest. You need to watch the last 20 minutes of The Happening to see the worst scenes ever. But I'll explain later why I really liked that scene.
That's fine. There's a lot to like about it. I
Quickly run over the plot.
I'm
'cause
sorry,
I've got things to say.
So, okay, clearly. So the plot is basically that the Baron's in a village and he's trying to bring somebody back to... In every movie, they reboot the Baron, and they also reboot how he brings people back to life. In The Curse, it's like a big whirring like wheel thing that generates like mysterious power. In this one, they go back to the old like lightning thing, and ice is important somehow to keep things fresh. Anyway, the point is he's bringing people back to life, and then the priest gets wind of it. It's a really good opening, to be fair, with a body being snatched by some ne'er-do-well and being given to the Baron. And then the priest finds out. Frankenstein tries to strangle the priest, which is one of my favourite bits in the movie. And then they leg it, and because Cushing hasn't got any money, he goes back to
Carlsbad.
Karlstadt.
Well, whatever.
Right, to Karlstadt.
Literally whatever, because it
Yeah,
could be Jeff Stadt for a weekend.
And
Get me back to Jeff Stadt.
yeah, Stadt. And then
When you get statted.
no, that is a lot of cheese. So they go back to Karlstadt, where he's hoping to like raise money and you know start again.
Yeah.
But his again in quite a cool scene, they go back to his chateau, and it's all been destroyed, and everything's been nicked because of course, right? It's been because of course it's been 10 years, right?
We find later that the Burgomaster has cleared everything.
Yeah, there was no Burgomaster in the original. Nobody he was not undone by petty bureaucrats in The Curse of Frankenstein. He was undone in Frankenstein because he was a murderous shit.
Right.
Anyway.
And I feel like that's in the middle of the Frankenstein run.
Yeah.
They're kind of going back and forth on like
Who he is, yeah.
who he is.
It is a big thing. They do settle down in Created Women, and I mean no, because they go in Must Be Destroyed. They make him out as like pure evil.
Yeah.
And he's always much better. The ones where in Revenge and Created Woman and The Monster from Hell, he's much more of not ambiguous exactly, but
Well, in this one he's not. He in this one he doesn't do anything out and out evil.
No, he's not evil in this one. He's like misunderstood. Like the whole message of this one is, I better bring people back to life and be an amazing scientist. And people just leave me alone.
Right.
But he doesn't murder anybody.
No.
Right? He doesn't bump anybody off. His monster, like the whole message of this one is, he's all right, but because people don't leave him in peace, his experiments go wonky.
Right.
So it's like, first of all, are we really making a film about if we just left the mad scientist in peace, he'd be okay?
Yeah.
Because it's the mob's fault that his experiments go wonky. Because that feels like a strange moral to me. Like, what's
Well, I don't
that?
think anyone's concerned with that. But so anyway,
No, because you have to.
they go back to Karlstadt.
Sorry, they go back to Karlstadt, and sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. I have blathered
It's all right.
appallingly.
It's fine.
No, it's been terrible.
Okay.
He goes back to.
It has been awful.
I'm going to start again. This time, much better. Much.
I'll
better.
come in again.
I'll come in again. So, he's off in some village doing his experiments.
Yeah.
Priest finds out.
Yeah.
And he gets chased out of town. So
Yeah.
he decides to go back to the site of the first movie.
Yeah.
In order to get, basically money,
Yeah.
so he can continue his experiments. He finds out instead that his home's been ransacked, and all his stuff's been nicked. And then when he gets angry about that in the village, and goes to the Burgermeister, he gets chased out of that village up a mountain,
Yeah.
where he finds his original monster
Yeah.
that he made when he was in Karlstadt, handily frozen in a glacier, which he thaws using a fire,
Yeah.
which is like, okay.
Well, you've missed the
The deaf girl.
deaf mute.
Well, there's a deaf girl who's basically... They were like, hey, that little girl in Frankenstein, that famous scene in Frankenstein with Boris Karloff? What if she grew up and she was all traumatised?
Right.
Fine. So she grows up and she's all traumatised. She can't eat and she can't hear, which also makes her
She can't speak and she can't hear.
She can't speak and she can't hear.
And the guy says that pain and violence is all she knows. Because apparently, if you go to Karlstadt and you have some form of sensual handicap,
Yeah.
they will torment you because apparently they're all shit.
They are all shits. Yeah, I mean, they're not nice in this movie. Anyway, so the Baron
Yeah.
and his assistant
Yeah.
and the monster and the deaf
Jeff implausibly stays around.
Jeff Implausible stays around again for no good reason. It's just because he needs an assistant. And the deaf mute girl
Yeah.
are all hanging out.
Up a mountain.
No, they're back in the
Well, they thaw him
castle.
out and then they take
They thaw
him
him
to
out,
the
take him back to the castle, but they can't start him up because even though his brain's intact, it lacks the spark. It's so all over the place. Anyway, the only way to get the spark in the brain, apparently, is to hire yourself an evil hypnotist
Yeah.
who will shout, "Wake up," in a monster's face.
Yeah.
And Bob's your uncle. You'll have a woken up monster.
Yeah.
And the
And it's
evil
played by
hypnotist,
Max from Inspector
Max,
Morse.
who is
Amazing.
he is a ham sandwich
Oh, he
on
is.
wheels.
But
in this one.
He is a ham sandwich on wheels, but a delightful one. You're not a fan. I'm a fan. You're not a fan.
I like him, but it's so constant. It's quite grating, and also his character doesn't make any sense.
Who is he's not as overtly porcine as
Here goes Jim with those dick-gratingly awful crackers again. I mean, he really is a pillock.
his porcine is of pork, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He's not quite as the guy from Satanic Rites of Dracula, who's made the disease in his apartment. He's got all the beakers and everything.
It's been a while since I've
Freddie
seen
Jones.
him. Freddie Jones. Oh,
Who's
he's a
sweating
bit
and-
Freddie Jonesy,
He's a bit Freddie Jonesy, but he's not full-blown jowl
No, he's not
flapping,
full-blown Jones. No, that's true.
forehead sweaty
I
Jones.
forgot about Freddie Jones.
If
He
you want,
nearly ruins Kroll, Freddie Jones. It's so
when they
bad.
want to wheel out the ham, You just get Freddie Joe.
Because sometimes ham does taste better with a Welsh accent.
It does.
You know what I mean? This is something about Hopkins or
Hopkins is horribly
Jones. Like
ham.
when they ham it up with the full Welsh accent, it's just, this is something about it. It lends itself to the ham.
Whereas I have to say, old Max from Inspector Morse, he was always one of my favourite characters in Inspector Morse because I like
because
the way
he was there in small doses.
Right, and I liked the way that him and Morse palled around as the old guard.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's very entertaining to watch, but he lacks the. He should literally be Kevin Eldon from Big Train as the evil hypnotist, with the long black top hat and the fright wig and the googly eyes. Like that's who he needs to be. And the fact that he isn't quite googly enough.
He's not quite evil enough.
The fact that he
doesn't even have he finds
he's a bit of a middle class sweaty fop who sits around drinking alcohol while his beast goes out.
And he has
does
sort of
his bid.
mixed motivations where it's like
I love the fact that the hardship that was done to him was that someone came up to him and went, "Do you have a permit?" And he went, "I'm famous all around the world." And they were like, "Sling your hook, mate." And he's like, "Right, now I have to just destroy everything."
Yeah, now I'm going to gain control of a monster, steal gold, and murder the people that wouldn't give me a permit.
Although, I love it when he goes, "We're going to send you down to the village to steal gold. Let me tell you where it is." And then he's clearly stolen gold from the church. I think that's awesome. I think that's like a really good
that's true. I'll give you that.
Commentary without too much. Because if you want to go somewhere where the door's going to be open and there's a bunch of
free gold lying
around, that only someone with some morals would not steal because,
it's like
even me.
Sending like a monster from hell.
I'm a hoary old atheist, but I'm not going to go into a church and start pilfering the candlesticks. No. Unless it's to melt them down and give it to homeless people, I guess. But then you can't really eat melted.
I feel like this clip might be played on the news in the future. Despite vowing,
never.
Little did he know the twists and turns his life would take.
Yeah, despite vowing never to give melted molten gold to homeless people.
And I meant more nicking gold from church.
Oh yeah.
I came in too late there. But equally, who knows? Could be another twist that your life takes.
But anyway, right. So
kind of anti-homeless vigilante.
So now we have evil hypnotist, who's really just an old drunk in a velveteen.
Basically, he has control over the monster.
Right, but
not
the monster is also enamored with deaf mute girl.
Not really. She's got.
She's able
what's
to calm
going
him
on?
down.
Yeah, what's going on with those two? I've got no idea.
They miss a major trick here, and I'll tell you that at the end.
Okay.
But anyway, he is enamored with her. She calms him down. She does not enrage him. And when she twists her ankle cumbersomely on the way back down the mountain, he does pick her up and carry her.
There's only one reason he picks her up and carries her.
Okay, if you didn't see the fact that they're enamored with each other,
no,
then you missed a major part of the film.
No. I saw they had like a sort of a relationship. It didn't make any bleeding sense. I'm just saying the only reason Frankenstein. It's important to realise this. The only reason Frankenstein picks her up and carries her up the mountain is they want a picture of Frankenstein carrying a woman with a ripped shirt on the poster. That's what they want. Because every Frankenstein movie has the monster carrying a woman.
All right, hang on a second.
Every poster.
Hang on a second.
Even when it doesn't happen.
All right, hang on a second. That's two different things.
Fair enough.
I'm talking about the story right now, right?
You're right, I apologise.
Are there things crowbarred into the story so that they might look good on a poster? Perhaps. Perhaps there is, perhaps there isn't. It's fine.
No, you're right.
But
you're right.
That's not the. In terms of the storytelling, that's not the reason it's.
No, but I mean,
hang on a second, because it is very. It's very important.
Okay.
That in this movie.
Why is it important?
Because for some reason, this movie goes out of its way to make everyone embroiled with the monster.
Yeah.
Empathetic or sympathetic.
Right.
And everyone external of the monster is malevolent.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Okay.
So the Burgomaster has
stopped.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
the Burgomaster has stopped. The only person you can almost say is the genuine moral core of the film is the chief of police. He's the only one who acts like a normal
That's true.
person.
No, not the chief.
Yeah, the chief
maybe
of
the
police.
chief.
Everyone else is.
Who's the one who tries on the shirt? And...
Yeah, he's not a good guy because he wishes he was the Burgermeister. Like, he wishes he was the top
I
dog.
thought that was the chief of police.
No, that's his lackey, the flabby-faced guy who was in the background of all the scenes and yawned his way through another scene.
Okay, all right.
The chief of police was the one who was sat down when the drunk who was kicked out of the tavern saw the monster, and then the next morning he goes to the chief of police, and the chief of police is the only one who believes him because he knows that Frankenstein is back in the town.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
And he's the guy who shows up at the end and arrests Frankenstein.
Right.
But it goes to pains to show the sympathetic side of all the people embroiled on the Frankenstein camp for whatever reason. So Frankenstein doesn't
Team
do it.
Frankie.
Yeah, Frankenstein doesn't do anything outwardly evil because we even find out that the
Yeah. Thank you very much.
we even find out that the body that his ridiculously wonderfully stubbly and tongue-licking hunchback guy pulls out of the cabin.
Oh yeah.
He's amazing. Like at the beginning, you see him behind the tree, and you're just like, "That is a face." Like they
I will
just
say
went.
this:
They
like
went,
in all the Frankenstein movies, the people they get to play grave robbers are always
look
really,
the beans.
Yeah, they're always great.
So this, the grave
The
robber.
best grave robber in all Hammer is probably he's not technically. I mean, he's kind of a grave robber. He's more like a body transporter. But Michael Ripper in The Mummy is amazing. He's probably my favourite. He might even be a grave robber in another one, but he's definitely in The Mummy. No, sorry, Karen.
Be a chappie at the beginning who takes the wood chopper's body.
Yeah, he is very cool, and it's a good scene too.
It is a good scene, and I love the way that it starts with a Hammer production.
Yeah.
Then you see a whole bunch of stuff, and then when he's like, "We have to escape to this town," it then goes to full title sequence.
Yeah.
I like how there's a little gap between the first bit of the title sequence and then that was really neatly done. And I do love the way that all that confrontation happens in Frankenstein's cabin at the beginning, and then you see all the bottles and the beakers and the wires and everything, and it just goes, "The Evil of Frankenstein," blah, 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 and then it starts, and you're like, "Oh, that's like a really cool thing." The grave robber guy, but you find out later on that he paid for that body, so they won't even acquiesce to him being
a thief. Yeah.
Not a thief, but ambivalent about a corpse.
Yeah.
He's still gonna I'm legally gonna purchase it and da 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 da. And it's interesting though because there's all the stuff in the movie where he tries to throttle the priest. Later on, he's talking in a very vague term about the none of them will believe me. They all need this. What did he say? He doesn't say cycle. He says they're weird, and he doesn't say beliefs either.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I know the speech you're talking about, but I can't think of the words.
Oh, what is it? Patterns.
Okay.
And what's funny about that is that the movie stops short of being a religion versus science or science versus religion film, because they won't mention it. But throughout the movie, he's basically attacking people who have essentially religious belief but no conviction because they're all still morally ambiguous or awful. You have the scene where Frankenstein's monster steals the cross and the candlesticks, obviously from a church. So that's all nicely laid throughout it that I quite enjoy. Cushing is giving it the beans, as always.
Yeah, he's very good.
One of my favorite things about this movie is if you're going to throw a switch in any of his laboratories, it doesn't matter if it's in the woods in a cabin or if it's in a massive castle or whatever, if you throw a switch, the switch will explode with sparks and electricity and everything. And at not one point does he go, "Oh no, the switch is broken." This is just apparently how switches acted.
No, that's just how the Baron likes his switch.
That's just how he likes his switch.
Yeah, he likes his theatre.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So there's a lot of throw that switch, and then when they do, they have to mock pantomime. Thank you. They have to mock pantomime dancing out of the way of a massive spark explosion, which I love.
The After Movie Diner with Jon Cross will return right after this.
Hello, folks. This is a promo for a podcast called The Chris and Chris Show. I'm Chris with a C.
And I'm Chris with a K. The Chris and Chris Show is a movie podcast where myself and my colleague, Chris with a C,
Hello.
discuss our thoughts on films from a wide variety of genres, all in our own inimitable style.
Here's what the masses are saying about the show. Funny, irreverent film analysis.
Reviews are great and spot on. Subscribe now.
The Chris and Chris Show is a slickly produced and fun podcast with two gents who have great chemistry.
They sound like two old men.
Now, don't read that one.
Oh, sorry. Keeps me intrigued and keeps me entertained.
There you have it. What are you waiting for? Head on over to www.wafo.fm.
The audio equivalent of dysentery.
Stop reading the bad ones. What are you doing? Anyway, head on over to wafofm.com. That's WAFUFM.com to check out the show or subscribe to The Chris and Chris Show on iTunes.
Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Chris and Chris Show. That's Chris with a C, Chris with a K.
Lovely.
The biggest load of I've ever heard.
What are you doing?
You charmer. How'd you do it? Apart from my magnetic personality, I think it was the suit that got her going. Now, I'm not sure whether it was the lapels, the very fitted jacket, or the flared trousers, really. Now, if it's a stroll by the river in the morning, it could very well be the car-down blazer. With, of course, the off-white raincoat in case of emergency. Or if it's back to lunch with her mummy and daddy, it's all down to the safari suit with a sexy collar. Of course, she thinks I'm loaded. Me loaded. She doesn't know yet that I go to John Temple and get up to 2 years to pay. Around the same price weekly as 3 or 4 pints. Sandra, darling, be ready for me. I might break loose tomorrow.
Hey guys, this is JD from the In Session Film Podcast. Every week on our show, you can join my co-host Brendan and I as we review the latest films that's out in theaters. It also inspires us to discuss a top 3 list of some sort, and we have a lot of other fun movie discussions as well. It's always a blast. And we also have a show on Fridays called our Extra Film Podcast. This is a show that gives us the space to talk about the latest indies and art films and other classics that we normally just don't get to talk about on our main show. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, and more. In fact, you can just see everything about us, including our social medias, at InSessionFilm.com. So join us every week. We'd absolutely love to have you.
Welcome to Frankie's Nightclub Ruffo, where Friday night and Sunday night are the nights for discos, where you can disco the night away to the best disco sounds around. Saturday night, and Frankie's opens the door to Ireland's best live bands, with great sounds from different bands weekly. So for a great night out, come to Frankie's Nightclub Ruffo, where fun is our speciality.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling.
The raising of the monster is done in like a pretty exciting theatrical way, which I like. There's a great shot of like the monster rising back up in its case, in its like metal case. But it does also highlight some of the issues, which is there is a weird use of fade outs throughout the film.
Yeah.
That really is problematic because for some reason, halfway through the like flashback, I asked, because it's been years since I've seen Horror of Frankenstein. I've seen it, but it's been years. I was like, is this like old footage or is this like a new flashback? And the reason why I asked that was, yes, okay, partly I don't remember the original, but also the fact that all the fades made it look like that they were using old footage. Like they were like, oh, we have to fade through this bit because everyone will have seen it before, so let's just like get on to the next one. But then the fades continued throughout the movie. And what's funny is not only is the raising of the monster a pretty big set piece with like, you know, lots of whiz-bangery, lots of smoke, lots of lights, there's, you know, a huge gun antenna thing on top of the turret of the castle that's getting hit with lightning. There's these huge contraptions and everything like that. Like, it's full on, you know what I mean? Like, it's a nice big thing. But also, when they go to the town, there's the carnival. And the carnival is like a full-blown carnival, like a freak show and a carousel and a tavern and whatever. Like, it's a huge, and an evil hypnotist. And it's this huge set piece full of loads of extras and whatever. And the way it's filmed, with all these like fades and stuff as well, makes it just feel like stock footage. I can't explain it. Like, the fades makes it feel like stock footage.
No, I can see.
It's odd.
I can see what you're saying. I mean, when you think about it, it's an odd thing to do, isn't it? Like, it's not like a reboot,
right?
Because they're not just like retelling the original story from start to finish.
No.
They're like they're kind of making a sequel to a movie that was never made.
Right.
And so the way they go about doing that, with presumably these fades,
well,
I don't know. Maybe it's a way to tie together, like the house is from Curse,
right?
I'm pretty sure, but they might have moved filming locations by that. So maybe they filmed a whole bunch of stuff in one place and then had to pick up and move all. I don't know. Maybe it ended up with.
Do you know what it also felt like, weirdly, to me?
You don't want coffee?
And
no, I'm all right.
And this is when I really started to enjoy it.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it, by the way.
Oh, I really did.
I also enjoyed it. It's just, it's not one of my favourites.
But do you know why I like really enjoyed it?
Go.
When I started to enjoy it was when I realised that it has, first of all, it's total stream of consciousness. Like, it can't really like pick one plot.
No.
Right.
Right.
So it couldn't pick like one plot. So what it felt like was Hammer made a Frankenstein TV series, and then when you have the one episode where like the evil hypnotist gets control of the thing, and you have the other episode where the assistant falls in love with a blind deaf woman a deaf mute who maybe by the end like speaks because she's helped by Frankenstein with like the new medicine or something. Like there was all these plots.
Yeah, there's like unresolved stuff in there, wasn't there?
Right. So, and that's one of the things where they missed a trick, and I'll explain. Okay. But like, and then you've got like the carnival comes to town, so like you could have an episode where that happens. Like, how do you? It was one of those things where I was like, this seems to me like there were 6 pretty solid Frankenstein 45-minute episodes made, and they went, let's just edit it into a movie and try and like shore it up a bit or something like that, because there were so many things. And once I started to think about it like that, and I started to think like, what if a pilot wasn't the first episode of a show, but rather the pilot was like, there's all the stuff we could do. Like, if a pilot went, we could do an episode on this, we could do an episode on that, we could do an episode on that. And you kind of slammed it all together. It was like the pilots are like a really like funky Frankenstein thing, where they're like, well, we've got his assistant, we've got the deaf mute, we've got Frankenstein, we've got the monster. Like, there are crazy characters each week. We have to make them sympathetic because these are the people we're going to be seeing week in, week out.
Right, that makes sense, right.
How do we surround them with, you've got like
challenges and
grubby
things to overcome,
politicians, and you've got like, there's just stuff there that I was like, if you had made 10 more of these and like cut them up into half an hour or 40 minutes, like that would be like a really cool Frankenstein TV show. That's how I enjoyed this movie.
Okay, well, I can see that. I mean, I think that the more likely.
Oh, I'm not saying that's what they did.
No,
I'm just saying that's how I ended up enjoying it.
I agree.
Episodically is what I'm trying to say.
I think that makes sense. I mean, but I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that the guy who wrote it, the name John something or other is a John Lord. I can't remember, but anyway, it wasn't
Lord.
Anyway, whoever it was, I'm pretty sure it's a pseudonym for one of the producers, and I could be wrong, but I think it might be the pseudonym of the guy that directed Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
Yeah.
wrote and directed Customer movie is easily the worst Hammer film of all time. It's so pish.
Yeah.
And like objectionably pish as well. So that might be why it just doesn't make any sense. And quite often they do just like throw a bunch of stuff at the screen and see what sticks. But it is odd with the deaf mute girl to have this thing where it's like, well, this is the connection between like the past and the present.
Yeah.
And like she's so terrified of the monster she can't speak or hear. And then years later the monster turns up and she's fine.
Okay,
and
so this is the trick they missed.
Right.
Right.
Talk to me about the trick. Talk to me about the miss trick.
So the
trick Magoo.
The scene you didn't like.
That's what they call it.
Right. There's two scenes.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
There's 3 scenes in this movie.
Right.
That are, well, it's okay. First of all, it's all bizarre, right?
Yes.
It is like a Monty Python, Terry Gilliam cartoon stream of consciousness of a Dracula story, of a Frankenstein story, of a Frankenstein story. But there are 3 scenes that are like wildly tonally different.
How were the fries, by the way?
Really good. Really good. The whole thing was amazing. The first one is your budget Roger Moore talking to your old German doctor who has the best hat in movie history because it's like really crumpled and shambolic, which I love. But there's this weird scene where and it's so odd. This is like another thing that feels like it's been pulled from a TV series, like the journalist who shows up in town and like throws the cat amongst the pigeons.
And they're like, listen, we can't lose him because he's the one that sets it all up, but he's not going to hang around. So let's just make him say, I wish I had time to investigate, but I have to go 9 times in 3 minutes.
Right, which is so odd because so first of all, he is doing Roger Moore. Like you watch that scene and he's talking like this and saying, I wish I could stay, but I don't have time. Yes, thank you. And he's raising an eyebrow and he's, being very, 70s more, which I love. But he also, like, that's the scene from the film where, like I say, he's being no one in the town believes him. Everyone in the town wants to forget. Like, that's a really nice theme. Like, everyone in the town is like, this horrible thing happened to us 10 years ago. Please don't dredge it up again, right? And then this investigative journalist is like, but I must know, right? And then you have his journey.
Although, to be fair, and this is, again, the weird disconnect in the movie, which is to do with your whole empathetic thing. Apparently, all that happened in the original movie is that he lost control of the monster ate some goats.
Yeah.
The end.
Right.
Because while he was eating the goats,
he
scared a girl, ate some goats, and then they shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's time crunching. They're trying to
No, I get it, but I'm just like, so what's the traumatic event?
The traumatic event is
the goats.
The killing of
traumatic goats. Got it.
But anyway, Frankenstein, killer of goats, coming soon.
Frankenstein and the traumatized goats.
But then, like you say, he says over and over again, like, damn, I wish I could
investigate more of this thing that I'm explaining, but I have to go.
Right, so then he leaves, and he literally never shows up again,
No, we never
which
see him
is
again. It's very
bizarre.
Weird. It's very weird. You're right. It's a whole string of
and it's
ideas
bizarre.
that doesn't ever hang together.
It's bizarre because there's no need to give us exposition that he's coming to Karlstadt.
Yeah, because he already says that.
Because Frankenstein and his mate, Jeff the Improbable, are riding along in a carriage, and he's like,
doing just that, thank you very much.
And he goes, what do you mean we're going to Karlstadt? I thought you said you could never go to Karlstadt. And he's like, oh, we'll be fine. And so we already know he's coming to Karlstadt, so we don't need the journalist. That's the first scene where I'm like, that would be a wonder. Like, I would really enjoy budget Roger Moore going after Peter Cushing, but like, we don't get that movie. But it's like the seed is there, and I'm like, that's fine. Then there's the scene with so then there's the scene where Peter Cushing, having found out at the tavern that the Burgermeister has most likely stolen his stuff because the Burgermeister is wearing his large ring, ruby ring, The Burgermeister, by the way, who is literally married to Tits McGee.
Tits McGee dubbed Tits McGee as well. With being dubbed is like humiliating enough, but being dubbed by a terrible actress is an even worse fate.
Yeah.
A fate worse than death. That's pretty bad.
But what's funny is, I mean, I know Hammer becomes known for this, like, as they slither into the sleazy 70s and start, like, you know, bosoming it up all over the place with their corsets and their cleavage.
There was always cleavage. Right from the beginning, there was cleavage.
Yeah, maybe. But, like, in this one, it seems particularly like someone from Benny Hill was involved.
Yeah, no, someone definitely went, what if we put a Benny Hill character in this scene?
Because there's this whole sequence. So
the scene when Cushing jumps out of a window.
No, that's where I'm going.
Okay, right.
So then he sees them in the thing. There's a lot of, like, you know, they're all sat around a table quaffing ale and burgermeistering it up, while Tits McGee sits there, like, quietly
titsing it. Giving it the tits.
So then, you know, the Baron, who cannot leave shit alone, like, he's if anything is a character trait that runs through all of these movies, is that Cushing as the Baron cannot leave things alone, right?
It's true.
So he shows up. Oh, he's also at this point.
Well, you've been pretty boring me. He went, so Baron, you want to raise this guy from the dead? Nah, but I think I'll be all right here. I'm retired. The new Hammer film, Frankenstein takes it easy. Frankenstein leaves it be.
So, Frankenstein bursts into the Burgermeister's house, right? Doesn't care that at this point everyone just knows he's back in town. Like, completely blows his own cover. Nobody cares. But over like a ring. Like, he's like, oh, I need that ring.
It is like absolutely terrible undercover work.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, don't worry, I've got it under control. First of all, we're going to wear this mask in a room full of people who don't have masks.
Yeah.
So that will instantly will blend right in. Who's that guy with the small mask over his eyes? He looks familiar. But just in case that doesn't work, what if I start yelling at people for nicking my stuff?
Right.
Like, just out of curiosity, what's your end game?
Yeah,
here?
what's your end game?
Are you hoping they'll go, I'm terribly sorry, stranger.
Yeah.
I better give you your stuff back.
So then we get the section of the movie that's so he bursts in, right? He confronts the Burgermeister, right? Then the police burst in after him. The Burgermeister, who, by the way, Tits McGee comes over, bends over in front of the mirror, and there's all like...
There is like a wah-wah.
Oh, yeah, no, she bends over in front of the thing, and he goes, wah. And then the Burgermeister is like, she goes, oh, please come to bed. And you're like, well, obviously you would go to bed, because Bosom's, you know, McGrew is flapping about the place in a see-through nightie. He's like, no, I'm going to stay here and, like...
Straighten my hat. He's straightening his nightcap.
He's straightening his nightcap and gingerly fingering the silken lapels of the nightgown that he's stolen from Frankenstein.
Right.
Because apparently the Burgermeister cares more for the material things than he does the pleasures of the flesh. So anyway, Tits McGee goes off to the bedroom. In bursts Frankenstein. Ensue. Police come in. Frankenstein barricades himself in the bedroom. Oh, no. Before that, while he's having a go at the Burgermeister, she's in the bedroom screaming. And he goes, will you shut up, lady? Or whatever. He goes like that.
Shut up, woman.
Shut up, woman. And he slams the doors, right? But then, weirdly, when the police come in, he's like, right, I'm going to go into the bedroom now and lock myself in the bedroom. So he goes in the bedroom and locks himself in the bedroom using a chair up against the door, which apparently boxes like 5 enormous men. Meanwhile, Bosom's McGrew is suddenly sat upright in bed, like giggling and flirtatiously and coquettishly, like nodding her hair at Frankenstein, while Cushing does some of the most amazing physical comedy ever, like grabbing an enormous blanket from the bed and like tying it to the bed and then throwing it over the balcony, realizing it's not long enough, but knowing that, like, I guess it's saying that Cushing is heavy enough that if he pulls on this thing, it's going to pull the whole bed and Tits McGee, like, towards the window. But Cushing looks back at Tit Spaghetti after all this amazing physical comedy, and in the most Roger Moore way Cushing has ever been. Like, I've never seen Cushing be quite so, like, dashing and 70s Moore-esque. He's like, good night, and then, like, dives over the balcony, pulling the giggling Tit Spaghetti and the whole bed towards the window. It's an utterly charming scene.
It is a good scene.
That literally, again, leads nowhere. And it's the scene from the TV show where they're like, well, let's have the episode about, like, the evil politician who's stolen all of Frankenstein's stuff. Right. And how Frankenstein, like, gets back at him or steals his stuff back or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? That's the episode.
Yeah, it's like the middle 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Of like a whole bunch of TV episodes where there's no introduction.
There's no introduction.
And there's no conclusion.
No.
But there's, the meat is in there. Do you know what I mean?
You're just missing all the bread.
So
the meat, you're being asked to pick up pulled pork with your fingers, which is pleasurable for a time, but will always require a bit too many napkins for one's liking.
I would say that's fair.
That's a pretty good metaphor, right?
Yeah, I think it is a good metaphor.
So that's an amazing scene. And the third scene, which again sets something up that is never paid off, and this is the trick that they miss.
Okay.
The sequence that you don't like with the German old doctor and the drunken, I wish I could do a German accent, but actually I'm Irish.
Definitely Irish.
Definitely Irish, right? So, the reason why I love this scene.
Wow. You're using the word love.
No,
okay.
I am using this word love.
All right, okay.
Is because it's actually really interesting. How many movies, right? It's also especially interesting considering the rest of the movie goes out of its way to at least make the Baron Frankenstein like a persecuted person you want to kind of root for in a weird way. How often does a film have the foresight to go, well, we're going to show the aftermath, the ruined lives that have been affected by the goat slaughter of 10 years ago? Now, okay, we know it's only goat slaughter, but let's hypothetically imagine that actually he went on a tear through the village, killing a few people, right? And it was actually traumatizing. You then get this scene 10 years on where, like, this guy who's lost his wife and his daughter is, has become a mad mountain wilderness person who can't speak and can't hear, right? And he's turned to drink and he's lost all his goats and everything like that. Like, you actually see, like, this ruined life, which is like I actually found, like, really a fascinating, like, comment, because very often you watch a monster movie and, like, the monster tears through the town, and at the end of the movie you shoot the monster or burn the monster or throw the monster in a lake or whatever you do with the monster, and then the end credits roll. And even if you have a sequel, all that happens is the monster comes back and terrorizes more people. You rarely see the guy who's, like, lost everything due to the monster 10 years on. Like, I found that really fascinating in a way.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's fair.
Then the German doctor comes in, right? And they're having this conversation about, like, let's get your daughter, and I'm going to take her to Vienna, where Dr. Freud is there, and maybe Dr. Freud can use his mind magic on her and, like, bring her memories back or bring her voice back or whatever like that, which is, like, also a really, like, interesting tangent, because you're like, well, I want to see that. Like, maybe there's an episode where it wouldn't be Dr. Freud, but there's this episode where, like,
Frankenstein psychoanalyzed.
No, Frankenstein decides to take on, like, some of this new medicine and, like, cures the girl somehow using a mixture of his, like, I don't know, let's stick electrodes on your nipples while
while asking you about,
whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that. So that was interesting. But then they both admit to each other that they've given up, which is, like, yet another, like, bleak revelation. Like, there's this fascinating scene where they're talking, he's like, maybe I feel this way too because I have also given up. And I'm like, okay, that's bleak. Like, when do you ever see, like there's just this ruined lives of these people who have given up.
So in other words, what you're saying is, because I'm not... Sorry.
Then, to end the scene, out of nowhere, Irish McGillicuddy starts talking about, do you believe in dreams? And talks about this, like, desperately pathetic dream he has about his daughter finally coming back to him and resting in his lap and saying, I'm not afraid anymore, Papa, I'm not afraid. Like, it's this, and I agree, you need a better actor to pull it off, and you need some music undercutting it, and blah, 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 blah. But it's still like a really, like, neat idea, this whole thing. And the trick they miss is that they decide to end the movie with Frankenstein is monster supposedly perishing in a massive fire caused by the monster being in a bit of a bad mood.
Yeah.
Right? Out of nowhere, by the way.
There's no
the monster
reason.
is suddenly running around holding his head, right? And crashes the thing and knocks things over, and I think drinks like acid or something. Like he starts.
I think it's chloroform, right? I think Frankenstein's trying to get to it to.
Okay, where he drinks something, whatever, and then he burns the place down, and we see it collapse from a long way away. And the assistant says something like, "Well, I guess they finally got him," right? Which is. A, has nothing to do with anything. Secondly, is inaccurate because nobody finally got him. The monster got him, right? And then it just ends, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The trick they fucking missed, considering the whole relationship with Frankenstein and the girl throughout the whole thing, is, sure, have everyone perish or burn or have some big action scene or whatever, but have the girl get away with the monster, go up into the mountains again, hide out where she can't be found again. And the last fucking shot of the movie should have been her in the monster's lap saying, I'm no longer afraid of you. And that's how it should have ended. The dream coming true, but the dream isn't that she's saying that to her washed up alcoholic father, but that she's saying that to the monster, and she can finally speak again. She's been released from this.
Well, she could have said it to Frankenstein.
Right. The three of them get away. Whatever. Write it any way you like. But the last fucking shot of the movie
you're right.
should be her resting in a man's lap and she finally talks again.
You're right. It should have been... Yeah. It should definitely have been... It was almost odd that the two of them, Improbable Jeff and the Deaf Mute Girl, it was odd that it ended without her saying anything.
Well, it's also odd because I think you see throughout the movie Improbable Assistant Jeff kind of not eyeing the woman, but like certainly...
No, but you just get that thing...
Certainly being oh, I'm a young, handsome man, and there's a young, pretty woman, and we're in proximity together, and it's a hammer phone, right?
Right.
So they end the movie going, well, we want the pretty people to be together. But there's nothing throughout the movie that builds it up. What's built up throughout the movie is that she feels safest with the monster.
Which I agree, and that's why, I mean, my only objection to your very good idea is that the problem with having her saying... I'm no longer afraid. She hasn't been afraid of the monster for like some time.
I'm just artistic license because they bring it up in the
No, I agree, but
I'm
just saying, like, I think she could say something else, like, I'm not afraid of you, or I don't know, like something like that.
Right. Or what if she says I'm not afraid of them anymore? Like they escape, and she's actually saying I'm not afraid of the mob anymore.
That could work too.
Because she has.
There's definitely there's license there to come up with something that they don't.
So although I'm loving the 10 minutes of meat we're getting from all these TV shows that don't
exist, you could have
got
like at least one bit of bread at the beginning, one bit of bread at the end.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's a really good. I think it's a really good summary, and I think you make good points about all those scenes. And I suspect there's one of the reasons I wanted to see it again was that I was under the impression that I was so gobsmacked by. Why am I watching them try to persuade me that the first movie is different?
Yeah.
They just kind of threw me for a loop for the whole movie.
No.
And like the style is very different. Like there's not.
And the argument could be made that if you're going to, let's say, watch the Frankenstein movies in order, miss this one, pull it from the series.
The only thing is there is a weird thing. I mean, I'm quite looking forward to watching Frankenstein Created Women again. But
that's the one that follows this.
That's one that follows it, because in Frankenstein Created Women, he can't use his hands. And there's some kind of thing, and I don't know if it's ever explained or not, because I might have just missed it. But there's like something happened to him, which again in the movie works quite well, because it's like, fuck it, you know what I mean? We'll just make a new Frankenstein every week, you know.
Right.
But I guess it's like
this one is something like 5 or 6 years later after the second one. This is the longest gap they have.
But the Frankenstein Created Women, like the implication is that I guess that he burned his hands
Yeah.
in fire, and so he can't use them anymore.
Right.
But then Frankenstein must be destroyed. Oh, his hands are fine. And if Frankenstein Monster from Hell, he's in prison, but he's chosen to be there, and there's no order left anymore. So yeah, I would
only because
I would miss it out.
If you watched Curse of, right, then the second one, and then this one, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Just like
that you would be
confused now.
watching this going, wait a minute, why is this a redo of a flashback when they could have just used clips from... Also, it is about 20 minutes too long. So what I would do to change it was I would use clips from Curse of and then immediately just carry on. And
well, but you've got to, they've got to use the... I mean, yes, I see what you're saying. They've got to use the most. I mean, I would...
But then you just have someone else dressed up, like, it's not like you look at Christopher Lee and go, oh, that's, like, it could have been fine.
Yeah, that's true. But that's not the point, is it? They wanted to have Frankenstein raise the monster from the dead with that makeup. Like, that's why they made the movie. I mean, I do take your point, and I think it should be gone. But I mean, like in Frankenstein Created Women, he like uses the power of lava, I think, to raise the dead. And it's a whole. Honestly, when if we don't see it, you'll see like just the science is completely different,
right?
And like what he's capable of doing, and like what the effects of the experiment are. They just turn him into like, mad Q scientist man. I mean, every film from this point on, he's doing. Because Monster from Hell is like something else as well. He's not like raising the guy from the dead,
right?
I don't think.
But I have to say, like, I understand why it's a problematic movie if you watch it in a way.
But I did want to watch it again because I did feel like, divorced from that, just sitting down and watching it as a standalone Frankenstein film, I did enjoy it a lot more, but it was quite slow. The accents bothered me because I think it just... I think it dragged.
Didn't bother me. The only time it bothered me was...
But the accents bothered me because it dragged the quality of the acting down because everybody was trying to put on a German accent.
Right.
And one of the best things about the Hammer films, I don't give a shit about that.
Right.
They just hire good actors. So everybody's got a bit of... Every character in the Hammer movies, no matter how small, has a bit of colour to them and a bit of like...
To me, the only scene where that bothered me was near the beginning of the movie. Sorry, no. Not the beginning of the movie. In the flashback, where we hear the young girl, the mother, and the father all speak.
Yeah.
That's when it bothered me because I was like, the young girl couldn't do an accent, and like you say, was just saying Von instead of one or whatever. And the thing that popped through my mind during that scene is that's weird. Most people do not use accents in Hammer films.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just there's no need for it. It seems like a weird thing where they were trying to, again, and I can't remember, but I'm assuming, presumably in the Universal Frankenstein, maybe they did. Maybe they had like thickly, because I'm sure there's enough Germans knocking around Hollywood that they could have like. I mean, it was made by it was a German. No, wasn't it German? It wasn't a German movie, but. No, James Werner wasn't German. Anyway, the point is, well, it was influenced a lot by German expressionism anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that the way they filmed the original Frankenstein had the villagers, whatever, with like German accents.
And actually, when you look at when
they were trying to do that,
if the theory behind this film is like we can finally do our version of the Universal Monster movie, then that adds a level of bizarreness to this film that it tops even the jumping out the window scene, or the fact that halfway through, all of a sudden, there's an evil hypnotist.
It's a very strange movie because.
And by the way, don't you feel like Frankenstein would be the first person to debunk an evil hypnotist? He wouldn't like pal around with him. He'd be like, "This guy's a fraud."
Yeah.
Because there's no science to hypnotism.
No, there's not. That's what I'm saying. It's like
there's also they also missed one other trick. If you're going to go for the whole like religion versus science thing, then you should also maybe have had. There should have been a preacher, right, talking in the town square or whatever. And the camera should have panned over to where the fair's going on, and the evil hypnotist is panning, right? And then it should have panned over to Frankenstein, like supping a brandy or something, and he should have gone, they're all snake oil salesmen or whatever, like they're all charlatans or whatever like that. Like comparing the fraudulent hypnotist with the fraudulent.
No,
prick.
I agree.
But I think that the movie's deeply weird, right? And has lots of problems with it.
Yes.
But I found it enjoyable.
Yes. Me too.
It's not the sum of its parts, but I do like all the parts.
Yeah.
Individually.
And Cushing's
always
really, really great.
So good. Even at the end where like everything's going wrong and his hair's flying everywhere and he just like tears his shirt. You're like, he's a very physical actor. He's so like wiry and like whatever. And although he uses a stuntman to do the bit where he's standing up on the cart going through the crowd. Yeah. When it actually comes up to the castle, like that's Cushing. Like there's horses and a cart, and he's standing up and riding, and he jumps off and runs into the castle. And he's this awesome physical presence.
He is. Nobody runs in. Cushing as Van Helsing running is just the best.
Yeah,
because he runs into places and runs after people.
And the way he lunges for the priest.
Yeah, he lunges and he runs, and it's great.
And he's like tearing his shirt off and going crazy. And every time he like touches something, he's got like this really great like physical presence with like his forearms. So when like the switches that I mentioned earlier are like exploding and giving everyone electric shocks, like he's really good at being like and like rubbing his forearm and stuff. Like he's just.
He knows how to make it real.
Oh, he's such a joy. Even when he's being forced to do these utterly like hammy, ludicrous scenes, he kind of like he throws himself into it.
Yeah, he always felt like he was very different. Even though him and Lee were good friends, he felt very differently about his work for Hammer. Right? Clearly, Lee
thinks he's above it all.
Well, I don't think he's above it all. I think
he does.
No.
At a certain point.
No. I think what it is that it's the whole thing was a sausage factory, right? And I think that as far as Lee was concerned, Cushing gets to do like play different people all the time, and they only wanted Lee to play Dracula. Just keep playing Dracula because it makes us so much money. To just keep playing Dracula, and so he had to say no, I'm not fucking doing it. And he does like in the Gorgon, he's like the Cushing character, like running around and like throwing open doors and going aha, and he's fantastic and he's brilliant in The Devil's Rides Out. And most times, like Lee turns up. Even he's the best thing in The Mummy. In the flashbacks, is like the priest.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole thing is his story, his movie.
Yeah.
But he's the second tired of it. But Cushing, so I think he got a bit of disdain for it because I think it was a bit of a sausage factory. But I think Cushing just really loves to work.
You mean like a cookie cutter factory? Sausage factory makes it sound like sausage party. Like it's just a bunch of dicks flapping.
Well,
which
either way,
it is. There's a lot of men in it. And
either way, I think Cushing just loves to work.
Yeah.
And I think that because he came up, I think he didn't. I think Lee came up like through Hammer. You know what I mean? But I think that Cushing did a lot of theatre, and he did a lot of TV. Like he did, like we talked about last week, he did The Abominable Snowman as a movie, and he did 1984
with Donald Pleasence.
So I think if you're doing a live TV thing, then you don't just throw yourself into it, but like you try to make it real too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he does really, really well. In this one, all that stuff he's talking about, the switches and stuff, it's like he's like his hair flapping around and him being very physical. He's trying to make it real,
right?
Because he wants to because he more than anybody, I think, in Hammer, and I mean like directors, producers, other actors. I think Cushing more than any of them embodies the idea of like he wants to give people like good stuff.
Yeah, put on a show.
Yeah, and and
make them laugh.
Alec Guinness was always really grumbly about Star Wars, and Cushing loved it. Yeah. Cushing loved being in Star Wars. Cushing loved like being a bad guy and quoting things and like the kids recognising it, and he loved it. I'm sure he's a bit of an old ham, but he's also. Let's just talk about the fact that Alec Guinness is fine and everything, and he's a great actor, but Peter Cushing is so fucking good in Star Wars. He's easily the best thing in it by like a country mile. He sells that movie. It's because he knows what he's there for, and he gives it, and he doesn't like ham it up. He makes it real.
Right.
This utterly implausibly, like I'm so evil, I'm going to blow up a planet to prove a point.
Yeah.
And he sells it like completely. You don't doubt for 1 second that this guy Who, by the way, is like, who is he? Who's in charge? Is it the Emperor? Is it this bloke? Is it Vader? Like, what is this leadership structure all about?
Right.
And there's no answer, by the way. Like, Cushing's not working for anybody but himself.
And just what are the GoBots?
Yeah, and what are the GoBots?
But no, you're right.
But listen, I'm very glad we went to see it on the big screen, even though it was weird, because I'm sure when
Cushing was always out of the three. If you're going to go Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and Christopher Lee, as sort of like the three sort of godfathers of modern horror, Cushing was always my favorite.
Yeah, I would go along with that.
love Price and Lee. Don't get me wrong; they're delicious in their own way. But I always love Cushing.
I don't know,
I feel like
I don't know if I've seen that many bad Cushing movies. I mean,
but then I feel like, because people would be like, well, what about Donald Pleasence? You was going. I feel like he's a different animal. He doesn't have like a Hammer. He has the Halloween franchise maybe, but he doesn't have. He was never part of the Hammer studio in the same way the other. He was never really part of the Amicus studios in the same way the other.
No.
He does crop up in like British films and stuff of that time, and he certainly, obviously, in the 80s and late 70s, does his fair share of like Italian schlock and stuff. So he's definitely like
he's around
a horror figure, but he's also one of his. He's also known for The Caretaker. Like Donald Pleasence is known for his West End performance in Pinter's The Caretaker, and then the film version with Alan Bates and Robert Shaw. Like that's what Pleasence like makes his name off. Whereas Cushing and Lee are kind of synonymous with their.
I would say I think the difference between Lee, Price, Cushing, and Pleasence is that all three of them, Cushing, Lee, and Price, are all very elegant.
Yes.
Pleasance, elegant is not the word I used.
No, it's working class, very working class.
But they are very. They're very. I wouldn't even say it was a class thing necessarily. It's just there's an elegance to them. Like there's a. I don't know. Like even when they're being evil or strangling people, they're just very elegant looking.
Right.
Whereas Pleasance looks like a potato on top of another potato.
Yes, I think I just think Pleasance has his own beats, has his own mood.
Oh no, I agree. Pleasance is great. I am not in any way. I will watch anything with Pleasance in it, just like I will watch anything with Cushing in it.
And I think the reason why Pleasance
isn't a leading man.
No, but the reason why.
But all three of them are.
The reason why Pleasance is by far the better casting for Dr. Loomis in Halloween, because he wanted Cushing or Lee. That's who Carpenter went after.
Oh, right.
And I think Lee flatly refused, and I think Cushing's agent didn't show him the letter or something. There's like some story where Cushing was like, oh, I would have done it, but...
Yeah.
Because certainly by that point, like Cushing had done like Shockwaves and some like real like schlocky stuff by that point. He wasn't above showing up in like some cameo role. And I think they only had Pleasance for 3 days during the original filming of Halloween. If you think about it, he's only really by the house throughout the whole movie until the very end, because they shot all those sequences with him and Sheriff Brackett like all in...
I have to say, like even though Cushing obviously would be great, I think
No, I was just about to say, the thing that's genius about Pleasance as Loomis is you wouldn't quite buy Cushing being... afraid. Like the best thing best thing about Loomis is that he is brave despite his fear and his knowledge that he probably isn't going to get through this. Like he's brave despite that. He's like, I'm going to stay here, I have to save the people and do what I can do. But you know, he's nervous and he's a little bit twinged himself. Like he spent 15 years like with this inhuman psychopath. And Pleasance conveys that, I think, way more than
I agree.
Cushing
And
ever
actually,
could.
it's because I think he's got a thing with him in the movie where his kind of like schlubby, you know, Columbo vibe, like almost makes him to an audience look like an expert. and someone with all the facts,
Right.
like immediately. He's there. Like, his role in Halloween is to turn up and go, I am not shitting you.
Right.
This guy is evil and he will destroy everything.
Yeah.
And when Cushing says that, it would be a big thing.
Well, everyone would rally around him and be like, right, yes, Cushing said it.
But instantly, it would be like, with Cushing, you would imagine that he's going to be, the antagonist, as it were, and not Laurie Strode. But it changes the dynamic so that instead, Loomis becomes like this voice of, like, amidst all this madness, which is why it's so effective. Amidst all the madness of a guy who wears like a white, mask and like slashes teenagers to death for like completely unexplained reasons. There's this guy in the middle of it going, the human brain is capable. This is not, this wasn't made by lightning, or it's some monster from hell or anything. Like, this is like evil. This is biological, born evil, and it's so terrifying because there's this guy in a Columbo overcoat wandering around, telling you that there's no like Stephen King, book,
right.
A passage to be read,
right.
Where if you say the words, he will, whatever. It's like he's evil, and maybe we'll get out of it alive if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But this is humanity walking around here, and that's why he's so brilliant. I think Cushing would make it too much of an old-fashioned horror film, whereas what works is it's like totally different.
Right.
Play it like that.
Right.
Anyway, we talked for long enough about a movie that we didn't even see, and it's quite late, so we should wrap it up.
Sure.
I know you could talk about Halloween for literally hours,
I
would be happy to.
I brought it up because it does tie in with Cushing.
Okay.
And also because I absolutely adore Cushing, but it's interesting to note that one of the roles he was considered for is actually not a role he would be particularly effective
that's true.
in the way that another actor was.
Agreed.
And I always quite like that solution. Plus, I got to speak about persons for just a little bit. The Evil of Frankenstein, if you're going to watch it about 3 or 4 years after you've watched any of the other Frankenstein movies, and just kind of watch it as, like I say, imagine like a Lost. It was like a Lost 10-episode series. That was
the
like
highlights cut
the
together.
Adventures of
And
Baron
all
von
they
Frankenstein and his wacky crew.
Like like sometimes the BBC programs that get rediscovered, they rediscovered like certain patches of it, but it remains unfinished, so they sewed it together as best they could, hence all the fades and how things don't really end, and this is the film that resulted. Then you might be happy.
It's flat out the best way to watch this.
You know what, I would agree with that. I think that makes sense to me.
I also weirdly want the reverse to happen. I want now, based on that, to write a TV series. I know there's been lots of TV series about like Frankenstein, but I want to write this series that uses some of these plot strands and like do it properly.
I like your series idea. I do.
It could be such a good like taut 40 minutes, while also following the. Because once you've started watching, like once you've seen like a Buffy or a Xena or a Charmed or whatever, you realise that there's this formula to it where, sure, you've got the main characters, your Scooby Gang, whatever it is, going throughout the episodes, but then for one episode or for 2 episodes or whatever it is, something comes in and like that's your story of the week, right?
Right.
And that's what this would be. This would be like the Merry Baron von Frankenstein crew, right? With your token, deformed lady, your monster, and your Jeff Implausible, and your Baron von Frankenstein.
In a van.
Driving
around Europe.
In a car. Occasionally, Frankenstein would stand up on the horses just to look, proud and crazy. And, within this.
Well, have you seen? There's a thing. It's probably on YouTube, I think, but somebody cut together. From, I think, a mixture of Dracula AD 1972 and the Satanic Rites of Dracula, like the title sequence to a Van Helsing TV show,
which I would watch.
And it's like it's just a title sequence, and it's like Cushing like running around and like picking up bags and stuff. But you should watch it because you see it and you think, I would have given so much,
of course,
to see that TV show,
of course.
And it's when I first came across it, I was like, there's a Van Helsing TV show. How did I not hear about this?
Right.
And then, it's just, someone made it.
But it's also interesting that very often, and this will be my last point, very often in a horror movie or a B movie or whatever it is, they do throw up a myriad of storylines within like one or two B movies, and yet so often the flip side is that the movies people watch, the horror movies or the sci-fi movies or whatever, are just kind of dupes of each other. And you're like, but there was that one movie where there were like 10 plot lines that you could make like 10 pretty good movies out of, and instead we've just kind of thrown them into a blender and gone, that'll do as one movie. And then for the following movies, we're just going to rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It's not exactly what they do with the Frankenstein movies, but I just mean, it shows you that a lot of people go, well, there's no other stories to tell about X. Pick your character, Sherlock Holmes, Frankenstein, whatever, Van Helsing. No other stories to tell. And you go, well, actually there are, because in this one movie there's like 10 stories, and we could just pull one of them out and... Like,
no, I agree. Actually, the character in Hamlet suffers more from that than Frankenstein. Like, I agree with you about Frankenstein, but actually the character suffers most from, I'm not sure how many stories we can tell with this character. Is Dracula, really.
Yes.
Like, it does reach a point where it's like, so some dumb people have to tap at his castle and like get eaten, right? Yeah. Or he has to go out into the world and eat some people. There's like no...
But then...
It gets really boring really
But then
quick.
they end it with Satanic Rites of Dracula,
which is why I don't mind Dracula 1972 all that much, because actually I think it does need that, and I quite like putting it in.
Do you think Satanic needs that to lead into it?
Yeah.
It needs the whole Johnny Alucard thing?
It doesn't need that. I mean, look, there's a lot of problems
and
with
a lot of the old,
like,
listen, you old squares, we're going to have a disco party
I know,
while you're trying to have
it's so bad. It's so bad. But Cushing's... What's happening with Cushing in AD 1972 is really interesting, because he actually has a little... he knows he's a relation of Van Helsing, but he's never had to battle any evil.
Right,
and he doesn't know if he's up to it.
He has some personal skin in the game, because is Joanna Lumley in that one, or is she in Satanic Rites?
No. It's Kate O'Mara is his... is it Kate O'Mara? Yeah, it's Kate O'Mara, I think. It's his granddaughter.
Okay.
It's supposed to be his daughter.
Right.
But his wife died a few months before filming began, and he was so grief-stricken that he turned up like aged by 20 years. Like, he was written in his file, and they went, there's no way we can pull that off, she's going to be grandfather. But he's got this little storyline in AD 1972, it's like, am I up to it?
Right.
Can I battle evil? You know, because I've just been like sitting around with dusty books for my whole life, and I'm 70 now, and now evil's turned up. And all the like, hey, cats thing is like annoying, and obviously deeply throws you out of the reality of the film all the time. But it's a good idea putting Dracula in the modern world, especially since the modern world is all people. You've got the whole Halloween-y promiscuity thing. Do they deserve it? I mean, like, it's like Dracula's like, well, all I want is like to fool women into falling in love with me, and then I eat them, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't even have to fool anybody. They're just like, they're all given away anyway, so I might as well eat everyone I can. It's a neat enough,
Sure.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit, thank you.
All right. Yes, and I'll take a little bit as well. And then with that, I think we will settle up.
Yeah. Well, we got the bill, so we can just go out and pay, right?
Yeah.
Thanks very much, man. Thank you. Well, chin, man.
Chin.
That was really fun.